Hi, everybody. I wanted to give you a quick update on our Kickstarter. We have successfully reached our goal, but we still have just under 2 weeks to fund, so we have plenty of stretch goals that we would love for you to come and check out and still support us. You can find that at tinyurl.com/nerdpopkick, and it'll be also in the show notes. Hopefully, we'll get to hit all of our stretch goals and have to find out some new ones. And we look forward to having your support. Talk to you guys real soon.
But in your brain, you're in the nerds domain. Come on in, it's about to begin.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Nerds Main Podcast. I'm here with Shirley.
Hello.
And we also have two special guests, Shirley's son, Alex, who will be speaking louder than that. That's okay. And Nicky, who is from the Game Paradise. What is it? The One Gamer's Opinion?
Yeah, One Gamer's Opinion is the name of our blog. We've been running it since about 2007, I think is when we started that. And I'm also the owner of Game Paradise, which is a wonderful tie-in. It's a nice board game library in Fountain Square.
And as you, our listeners are hopefully aware, because they've probably heard me say this a couple times, every Thursday, if you're in Indianapolis, come down to Fountain Square, and I'm teaching games along with Shirley, who does a lot of help destroying me in those games while we play. She also helps teach games when we have the time. And we are down here every Thursday teaching something, and we'd love to have you down. If you are curious as to what we're teaching or what else is going on in Game Paradise, you can go to our website, and on the right-hand side there should be a want to play games with us? Come here, and it will show you the two Google Calendars we've set up, one for Game Paradise and one specifically for us. So, today we're talking about board games. Yay! So, let's start with Nicky, since you are the expert here, and Shirley and I are just amateurs compared to you. What got you into board games?
Oh, well, goodness. So in 2003, I moved to Minnesota, and it is a wonderful state to live in for about the 2 weeks of warm that is the summer. And the rest of the time, it's snowy and miserable, and you stay indoors, and you try not to think about the fact that you're in Minnesota. And so me and my husband at the time were up there, and we didn't really know a lot of people, and we didn't have a lot of money, and that led perfectly into board games. We had, I think, Risk in our collection, and Monopoly, and chess, and Othello, and I think that was it for the start. That was the start of the game library.
And that was in 2003, you said?
In 2003, we moved up there, so it was 2003, 2004, somewhere in that time frame that we decided to start playing board games for something to do together.
So what was your first non-mainstream game that you got?
Oh, see, the one that really sticks out, and I'm not 100% sure that it was the first, though, was Settlers of Catan.
Oh.
That's a good start for most everybody.
Yeah, I think that was everybody's crack when they first got in. And we played the heck out of that game. But see, that's the one that stands out, because that was the one that made us go, oh my god, this is fantastic. But I'm not sure that was the first, because we played a lot of two-player games. So I'm trying to think what else we played during that time. Pretty much anything two-player that you could possibly think of hit our repertoire at some point. Suro was in there. We did a lot of Suro. Lots of two-player games.
Okay. Shirley, how did you get into games? You blame that all on me?
No, actually I'm going to blame it on my father.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The game that I grew up on was Risk. Like every Thanksgiving or holiday.
I'm sorry.
No.
I still love Risk.
I really like it. It's a great strategy game in that everybody wipes me off the board first. So, but it's a lot of fun just to like see the competitiveness. Alex, that's what, that's his first board game. Or Monopoly.
No,
we used to play a lot of Monopoly. Risk.
Yeah, I used to.
Monopoly. And then 5 years ago, I met Matt, and he took me to Gen Con, and I didn't want to leave. I was like, there's this game and this game. Oh my gosh, what about this game? And we found Formula D, which Alex likes, racing and cars and stuff like that. So that kind of fit into our, the things that we liked at home. So we went ahead and got that. And was that Settlers of Catan? No.
We waited a while to get Settlers, yeah.
Yeah, but didn't we know somebody that played it?
Maybe.
because I remember that you brought it one time and then we played it.
Yeah, I
but
may
that
have
was
bought it.
before we got Formula D.
Yeah, I think I picked that up at one of the other local
Yeah.
game stores. So I started with Risk also. My dad used to go on Friday nights to hang out with his friends from church, and they would play Risk until the wee hours in the morning. And at about 12, he finally let me start playing. And so we played a lot of Risk, a lot. I can't honestly say what was next. I remember playing Suro, which I love Suro. But that's really where it started. A couple of years ago, I came over for Thanksgiving to Shirley's, and Alex is like, "We're gonna play Risk, and we're gonna play hardcore." And I'm like, "Hardcore?"
I don't know.
He's like, "Yeah, we no
Alex
holds
thought.
barred, like kill everybody. Don't hold anything back." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I mean, that's how I play, but sure. I might have gone easy, but I'll play hard." 6 rounds later, the game was over, and I'd won.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because Alex and his brother had picked at each other and had picked at Shirley and left me alone, and I went from Europe to America to North America to South America to the rest of the board. And that was it.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah.
Wiped us out. And like my oldest son Christopher, I don't think he ever wants to play board games with us anymore.
Yeah.
So.
I came home one night while they had a family Thanksgiving, and they're all playing, and it was getting brutal, like between the family. So
it's crazy.
yeah.
I think that's our bad holiday thing.
Yeah.
Like we play Risk and get angry, and then the game's over and fine. So everybody's fine.
Then we're all fine after the game.
Yeah. So Alex, you like Formula D?
Yes.
What else do you like?
I like Risk. I played a game. It's like Candyland, but with shoots and ladders.
Shooting ladders.
Yes,
Shooting ladders. Yeah.
You have these foam guns, and you either get to pick who you want to shoot, or
That's a different game.
That's cashing guns.
yeah,
Cashing guns,
That one.
Okay, that's the one.
which is not like Candyland at all.
Not
Oh,
the slightest.
But you're
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we played shooting
Yeah.
Yeah, we did also play shooting ladders. So
Is
you
that
like
the
It was really
gingerbread
fun.
man one?
Yeah.
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 the shooting ladders is shoots and ladders with gingerbread men and machine guns.
Okay.
So
Got it.
It was really fun. Played a lot of Formula D.
like Kings of Tokyo
Like
Yes.
from
Things and stuff.
from Yellow.
ILO.
It's IELLO. It's French. It's yellow. They told us that at Gen Con.
Really?
They were very clear.
I've been mispronouncing it for years
Yeah.
now.
So had we.
You're like, So, what else have we played?
You like
Did you
Monopoly.
like Lords of Waterdeep?
It was okay.
Yeah.
You liked
I didn't really get into
you
it.
like Ticket to Ride.
Yes.
Ticket to Ride's a good one.
Oh,
I haven't played it on the board though. I've just played it.
Yeah,
Electronic
honestly,
devices.
I haven't played it a lot on the board. I played it maybe 4 times on a board. Every time we
I
play
like the
those
board
on
game.
either my phone
Yeah.
or the iPad or over the internet on the phone or the iPad. So
Yeah, I'll be bored at work, and Matt's at home, and I'll be like, "Hey, ticket to ride?" He's like, "Sure." So we'll
just
do
take
the
turns back and
offline,
forth.
take turns back and forth.
Really? So you guys can play together still
Mhm.
Yeah.
on the iPad?
Yeah. Well, so you can
I
either
have my phone. He has his iPad, and I'll take my turn at work, and he'll
it
be
sends me a
across
message
town,
and it
it
says
says,
your turn is up.
It's your turn.
And you can actually do it with a bunch of people, and you can do it
Yeah.
with random people too. But then, like, you may wait days for turns.
So yeah,
Oh,
because
that's
we played with a friend Jesse, and like it took months to play just one game.
Like, dude,
It was like-
did you take your turn? Oh, I forgot. Well, can you do that?
Take your turn.
I know we're playing D&D right now, but take your turn for goodness sake.
That's awesome because one of the only games I knew that you could really do that with was something called oh god, I don't remember what they called it, but it was basically Risk. Like it had all the same rule structure as
yeah.
Risk. But it had that it would email you a notification when your turn was up and it would move on. So when I worked at Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I was a computer programmer, and the guy who sat in the cube next to me, who I believe still works there, and I'm sorry for outing you, we would play Risk with some buddies from him from Bloomington, and we would all email each other when our turn was up, and there was an online service that would handle all that.
Was this
That's
Conquer
nice.
Club?
No, I don't think that was
Because
right.
Conquer Club that's what they do is Risk, but they have probably 100 different maps, and some maps have different rules.
Yeah,
Like
okay,
one is
maybe it was this.
one is a like a chariot race map where you can only attack forward or to the left. That's the only options you have, so you can't attack backwards. So it's like this weird. So there's different strategies for all of these maps, and I really like that one. And there's a lot of places you can't attack across. Like it's really good. Conquer Club's really good for that. But Ticket to Ride does that. If you can play a game on a mobile device, you can do it by turns like that, by doing it over. You can also do what's called pass and play, which means I take my turn, and it says my turn is done. It's this person's turn. I hand it to them. They hit the button, and it starts their turn. So we played Lords of Waterdeep that way too.
Okay. And see, that's kind of what I expect on a mobile device. I didn't even know you could take turns like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I live under a rock and in the world where we've actually played with cardboard stuff. So
There's a much larger.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's also a much larger area that you can play with because there's some stuff that we can play that we don't have expansions for yet, like for this regular stuff. And then there's stuff like the Settlers of Catan on the Xbox is a little rough. It's hard to get into. Yeah, there's one on there. I don't know, I'm gonna say it's like $4-5 maybe to get it, but yeah, it's on there. So, so Shirley, what games do you really like? What's really your bread and butter when it comes to if you're gonna sit down at a table? What do you want to play?
It just depends on the mood that I'm in, but mostly I'm always up for Lords of Waterdeep. I love Lords of Waterdeep. I'm really starting to like Pixel Lincoln, and that's a new game that we tried out here at the shop.
And Pixel Link is a deck building game.
Yes.
Kind of an 8-bit side-scrolling adventure kind of Nintendo game.
Lay the cards out of what attacks you or what bonuses you get, and you take your character down the line, and once you reach the deck, that resets everything in that line. And then you build your deck up that way, and you get points by defeating the monsters.
Yep. Anything else? What else do you like to play?
I don't know. There's a lot.
Okay.
So,
what was the game you guys played the other night with Mark and Molly? It was a print and play game.
Makudo, Jakudo,
Okay.
something, Mikado.
Have you played anything recently that might have a Kickstarter up right now that you want to mention?
Heroes Most Wanted.
Heroes Wanted.
Heroes Wanted?
Heroes Wanted.
Okay, Heroes Wanted, which is put out by Aesop Games.
Action Phase.
What?
I have no idea where you went for Aesop. No. Action Phase Games.
Okay, Action Phase Games. We just did the event for Indie PopCon last night. Heroes Wanted was there. Windfall and Incredible. Oh my gosh, Incredible is amazing.
Incredible was really good. I don't remember the name of that company though.
It's V3G Games. It's Vision 3 Games, so it's V3G.
Okay. Nicky, what are your go-to games? Besides EBS. You can talk about EBS.
I tend to go for the resource management style games. So Settlers of Catan is certainly on the fluffier end of resource management, but I like things like Ginkgopolis. That's a little known one that I adore. It's all about building up your city, but it does it in such a way that you can either build up or build out, and there's different advantages to doing either. So that's really cool. I also really love EBS, which kind of falls outside of that resource management category. It is a trick-taking game. So if you like games like Euchre or Hearts or Spades, you're really likely to enjoy EBS. So that's EBBES if you want to look it up online. It's made by this little bitty mom-and-pop company. They've only printed a couple hundred copies, but before you go, oh, I can't get it, they're apparently working on a reprint.
And it should be done by the end of March is what they said. So they're a German company, and they're very, very friendly, and we're happy to talk to us a little bit over email about that. So we were happy to talk to them.
Yeah. Outside of that, I am the biggest fan of, don't judge me, Are You a Werewolf? That is like, if I can just sit there and play Are You a Werewolf all night long, I will do that. If you're not familiar with Are You a Werewolf, you might also know it by the name Mafia, if you're just a skosh older. It is a game where you get a hidden roll. It's one card, you get that one card. And everyone sits around in a circle. At night, and you can't see, air quotes, night, everyone closes their eyes, and the werewolves wake up and pick one person they want to eat. Then everybody goes back to sleep, closes their eyes, and then during the daytime hours, also in air quotes, the moderator wakes everybody up, tells them who's been eaten. They're out of the game, and then everybody else has to talk amongst themselves about who they think the werewolves likely are, and they pick one person to lynch. It's a fantastic bluffing and deduction game. It's usually a riot, especially when you finally figure out who's been screwing you over the entire time.
And it's better for a bigger team, bigger groups, like 7, 8, 9 or more.
8 is actually the minimum that they recommend that you can play with. Villages, which is what you call a game, goes all the way up to 15 with the base game. But if you include things like the Ultimate Werewolf set, which Beezer puts out, you can play up to 32 people.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a fantastic concept.
And in the 32 people, different people, there are more than just the werewolf role. There's a bunch of different stuff.
Absolutely. So the base game has werewolves and villagers, but and a seer, which lets them look at night for who they think the werewolf might be. But there's tons of other roles. There's Cupid, which makes star-crossed lovers. There's the Hunter, who gets to fire a last shot when he dies. There's all sorts of weird special stuff.
There's the Masons that know who each other are.
Yes, the secret society of Masons. Cupid tends to be the favorite in our group because they typically, at the beginning of the game, they pick 2 people who are the star-crossed lovers. They don't know who each other are, but when one of them dies, the other one immediately dies of a broken heart.
Aww.
Yeah, it's super cute. But usually they pick really funny people, like, 2 guys that they've been at odds the entire game, or something like that. It's
right on.
Too funny.
The other favorite is the Tanner. The Tanner's a fun card to play with. The Tanner wins by dying. So if you don't know what a Tanner is, they tan leather, and they do that with urine. Yeah, it's a pretty yucky task. So their life is so miserable that they want to die. That's the theoretical thought behind it. So if they can die by any means possible, they win, and nobody else does.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's super fun.
So for me, go-to games, I'm always willing to play DC Deck Builder. I love DC Deck Builder. I will play that in my sleep. I also do enjoy Lords of Waterdeep and Penny Arcade, Gamer vs. Evil.
Sentinels on the Multiverse.
I was getting there. Would you give me a second? And then Sentinels of the Multiverse, I twist arms to make people play with me a lot. Shirley has spent many a tired night sitting at the table going, really? We have to play this again? So...
People always seem strongly opinionated about that game.
I can understand because
Yes.
it plays the same way every time. Hypothetically, things change a little bit, but if you have the one hero, you're always going to have the hero who does that thing, and that's what he does. I love it. I love comic books, so that's what Sentinels of the Multiverse is about. So yeah. So we've mentioned a few phrases here. I'd like to discuss those. So Shirley, could you explain what a deck building game is and how it kind of works? Because you said deck building, and I want to kind of get into what that is.
Because I love WoW TCG, I kind of know what this is. Basically, what a deck building game is that you have a starting deck of 5 or about 10 cards, and you use them to accumulate more cards throughout the game by buying them from a pool, usually in the center of the table. But as you're doing that, there is a competitiveness to the game depending on what game it is. Like the
DC deck building game.
DC deck building game. You're not against each other per se, but you still have to accumulate the most victory points by the end of the game. Same with the Lord of the Rings, Penny Arcade.
And that's different from a collectible card game like the WoW card game or Magic, because those are pre-built decks that you use.
Those are decks where you have to kill the other opponent in a one-on-one game.
Yeah, this is more of a grab some stuff. So what are deck building games? We've said DC deck building game.
There's the DC deck building game, of course. Sentinels of the Multiverse.
It's not a deck building game.
It's not a deck building game.
No. We don't buy stuff from the middle.
Nope, you start with the deck and you play with the deck.
Yeah.
I thought we bought stuff out of the middle.
No. Not with Sentinels.
Oh my gosh, that's Tachyon. Oh god. Okay.
Tachyon?
Yeah, Tachyon's the one that I play with all the time.
Oh, okay.
So, got that mixed up.
So
there's Penny Arcade, DC,
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. We just played Nightfall.
No, we played Ascension.
But Nightfall is also a deck builder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is
And I thought-
Thunderstone.
Thunderstone's also a deck builder. And then you're, of course, missing the big one, Dominion.
Yeah.
Dominion was the
my gosh.
grandfather of deck
Yeah.
building games.
Okay.
Came out in 2009. It won the Spiel des Jahres award, which is the Oscar of German board
Wow.
gaming. It is.
Is that an Eni award? Is that what that's called?
It's kind of
Eni's
and
award?
Ennies
Eni's?
are like the redheaded stepchild compared to the Spiel.
Spiel des Jahres.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Spiel des Jahres is like clearly you're the best game. Period.
This is
like,
how much
and these are like
information. I don't
serious.
know about the.
In Europe, board gaming can be taken a lot more serious than it is here. So
Right.
it's
Because they have that huge convention.
So any other ones that we missed?
Oh,
Any big ones? There's
Legendary. Legendary is a big one that you missed.
Whatever.
I didn't care for it. I need to give it another try, but I didn't care.
I think you should give it another try. It has more depth, I think, than the DC deck building game.
Okay.
Which DC deck building, Lord of the Rings, and Penny Arcade are all cryptozoic.
Yes, but Penny Arcade does not run on the same engine. Lord of the Rings and DC deck building, as well as Capcom Street Fighter, and there's one other in there, all run on the same basic engine.
They just retheme
They just retheme it a little bit. So Cryptozoic has done a really good job of making the game easy enough to pick up and then giving it flavor. And I think they do a good job of giving each game different flavor.
Yeah.
So
Let's see, other ones, although I would never recommend it, the Resident Evil deck building game.
yeah,
They did one. There's also Eaten by Zombies, which that one's a really neat one. It has some different flavor to it. I do have that one in the library.
Try that.
Yeah. Eaten by Zombies, you are trying to stay alive as long as possible, and it's really, really tough. How you become a zombie is by not having enough cards in your deck. If you run out of cards, you're a zombie.
Oh, wow.
And every time you have a run-in with zombies that doesn't go in your favor, you have to trash cards out of your deck. So that's how it thins down
Oh.
quick. It's really, really neat. So there's that.
there's Trains.
There's Trains. Yeah, that
And-
was the big one out of Gen Con this year.
And Trains is interesting because unlike other deck building games where you're just buying cards to get points, this one you're buying cards to build train tracks and build station expansions in cities. And I think it's like this weird step over into a different realm, and it's good. I like it. I really like it, and I will play that again and again. But it's totally different in the way you do stuff.
Yeah, that one was really, really innovative. It was nice to see somebody do something a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I'm not sure if it came out of Japan or China. It was somewhere out of Asia this past couple of years, and it blew up over there. And it finally got reprinted by AEG this year for Gen Con.
Right on. So those are some deck building games. You said resource management earlier. So kind of describe what that is.
So how I typically explain resource management is if it's a game where nobody's out, so Risk isn't a resource management game, and usually can fall into just a couple hour time period. So not Monopoly where it can go on for days. Those typically would be in the resource management category. They're often very strategic. They don't have a big luck factor involved with them. So Ginkopolis, which I mentioned, is resource management. Settlers of Catan is resource management, but on the lighter end because it does have that dice rolling element. But there are hundreds of them. Carcassonne is resource management.
Can you give us some examples of some more popular ones that people might know?
Am I being esoteric?
Well, I mean, Geekopolis, like you said, nobody really knows that.
Well, that one's fair. That one's a bit esoteric.
It's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah, Small World. Small World. A lot of people know that one, and that one would fall into the resource management category, I feel, because it doesn't have that player elimination.
Same thing with Lords of Waterdeep.
Lords of Waterdeep certainly is a resource management game. We also joke that if it has little cubes, it often is resource management.
Yeah.
So what other kind of games are there? Styles?
So in the shop here, we break it down into 10 basic categories. There's luck and betting games, which is where you're going to find things like Monopoly. There's theme and humor games, where we put things like Munchkin.
Okay.
There's party games, things like Catchphrase, Cards Against Humanity, Apples to Apples.
Spot It.
Spot It.
We love our Spot It.
There's logic games where you have almost perfect knowledge of the board at all times, such as chess, checkers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
There's war games, whether they be reenactment or not. Risk would fall into that category, but there's hundreds of others. Horus Heresy was the one you've been eyeballing that falls into that category.
Yeah, that book is bigger than I am. If the instruction booklet is bigger than I am, I really don't think I should try and play the game.
That's why he doesn't like Legendary.
Yeah. It's also the reason I need somebody else to come in and teach us Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
Because that's
hefty.
Yeah, have you played it?
I've seen it played.
Because it's a resource management war game, and if you fight each other and it goes on for more than one round, you're kind of wasting your time. And it's this weird dichotomy. I played it once. It's very difficult to get into. Once you understand the rules, though, it seems pretty simple.
Nice.
So.
Let's see, there's also word games. Scrabble's the one everyone thinks of, but my goodness, there's Tapple. That was new from USAopoly in the past couple of years, and that's kind of totes that line between a word game and a party game. It's very, very fun.
Bananagrams.
I've heard a lot of people mention that one. Upwards. Little known fact about Upwards. Bill Clinton's favorite game.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
He went on an interview and said that when he was president. Upwards.
Nice.
Yeah. There's trivia games, which everyone knows.
Yeah.
Trivial Pursuit and the like. Although there's one that came out recently, which you may or may not be interested in, called Geek Out.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of Geek Out is it's all about geeky categories, and it's how many can you name. So it's if it's weapons from Star Wars is the card, and I go, well, I can name 3, and you go, I can name 4.
17.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I go, well, I can't name more than 17. Go ahead, and you'll name them off, and if so, you get the points.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit different.
Okay.
And then we have an other category. That's where everything else that doesn't fit someplace else falls. Memory games typically fall there. Math games fall there. Such as Equate, a math game that we have. It plays like Scrabble on a board, but you're making equations instead, which is kind of weird and fun.
Okay.
Where does Timeline fall?
Timeline falls in our trivia category. So if you're not familiar with Timeline, how it works is everyone has a hand of 5 cards. They're face up on the table. On the back of that card's a date, but you're not allowed to look at that. One card goes into the center of the table, and that starts the timeline. And that goes with the date face up. And then you take one of your cards and you decide, do you think it goes to the left or the right in the timeline of the world? If you're right, it stays there. If it's wrong, it discards and you draw another card. And the goal of the game is to get rid of all your cards first. So it's super simple. You now know all of the rules to play Timeline. But people can pick it up really, really quick.
Yep. So let's talk about getting into gaming. If you were going to suggest games, if one of our listeners doesn't know anything about board gaming beyond Risk or Monopoly, where would you start from that, Shirley? What do you think? It's kind of a tough question.
Well, no, not anymore. I mean, you go into Borders or Toys R Us anymore. Even
we were
at
GameStop today,
and they have board games, and it's not the run-of-the-mill board games. It's there was
Lords of Waterdeep was there.
Lords of Waterdeep
had the
was
X-Wing
there.
miniatures game.
Castle Panic was there. So if you go into any other like quote unquote gaming store like GameStop or even
bookstores
like
Barnes and Nobles.
Go back to their board game section and just take a look at the back of them, things that interest you, either strategy or family games, and pick something new that you haven't played before.
Okay.
So I think.
So anything?
Well, I mean, it just depends on what's there. I think. For me, being a simplistic player, Lords of Waterdeep was really easy for me to pick up.
Okay. What do you think?
So for me, when I approach that question, because I get a lot of people coming to the shop who don't really play a lot of games, there's 2 things that I usually ask. And the first one is, well, how long do you want to sit there for, and how much time do you want to dedicate to the game? Because that can sway it bigly. The second thing is, what do you want to get out of it? If you want to just get out like a fun afternoon with the kids, co-op games. Absolutely going to point you towards co-op games. There's a lot on the market. The best one that I can think of, if you've never played before, is Forbidden Island.
We need to play that.
It's really easy to pick up. We kind of call it Pandemic Light. It's made by the same designer as Pandemic, so it has a lot of the same flavor and feel. but it's really simple by comparison. It's also really cheap. I believe I picked up my copy for $20, and for a not off the shelf at Walmart game, that's really darn cheap.
Right.
So that would be, if you want just a fun evening with family that's not real stressful, that's where I'd start you, because it's not a competitive game. You're not going to fight at the table.
Whereas Pandemic is a stressful game. You're not fighting at the table. You're trying not to die.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It's stressful in a different way. But it's not going to, come to blows over Thanksgiving.
Because we play this game hardcore.
But for your question, the term that we typically use for that is gateway game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a term that you'll kind of find in the industry. If you read other blogs, people will talk about this is or is not a gateway game. Settlers of Catan is certainly a gateway game. We mentioned that was my first and is a lot of people's. But other great ones, Alhambra is a good gateway game. That's a set collection game. I don't recall if it won the Spiel des Jahres or if it was simply a nominee.
Okay.
And I bring up the Spiel des Jahres again because that's one of the criteria they look for. They're looking for gateway games. They're looking to bring people into the fold. So, so if you Google Spiel des Jahres online, you're going to get a whole list of fantastic gateway games.
Okay.
So Alhambra, Carcassone's another good gateway game.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Right.
simple to pick up. It's tile laying, so it's going to be different every single time you play the game, just based on how those tiles flip out.
And it's easy enough you can teach. I taught my 9-year-old how to play.
Yeah.
And I don't think he liked the part where he couldn't screw everybody else over, because that's what he likes to do when he plays games. But
yeah, he will attack you.
But he did enjoy the game and got a lot out of it. So that was pretty simple.
Yeah.
What about Survivor?
Survive.
Survive.
I think it could be a gateway game. The problem that I've found is like getting people to play it, because it's like nobody has it. Like we have a copy.
Right.
I don't know anybody else that owns one. So, but Survive is put out by Stronghold, and it's really good. And it's actually a reprint of an older game, and its full title is Survive: Escape from Atlantis.
Yeah.
So.
And outside of that, I would typically ask, what do you enjoy playing? Because people typically are familiar with those American-style games, Monopoly, Risk, Yahtzee. So if you come to me and you're like, I really love Yahtzee, I'm going to recommend King of Tokyo. It's dice rolling. You're trying to get those same set collections.
Right.
But it's by far a superior game to Yahtzee. There's like some clear, defined lines that you can go, oh, you like this, you're going to love this. So in place of, Yahtzee, King of Tokyo, in place of Risk, I would recommend
Game of Thrones?
No, that would not be a good gateway game. You'll hate me at the end of that. Caladia. Caladia would be an excellent one. It's a small reprint from a little bitty company whose name is also Caladia. A great game, though, and super easy to pick up.
Okay. So if they like spades.
If they like spades, I'm going to put them towards Ebbs. But in lieu of that, shucks. There's so many different games of that nature out there. I don't know. Get back to me on that one. Okay.
So there are plenty of games out there that you would suggest.
Oh my goodness.
Suro is a pretty simple game.
Absolutely.
And then Suro the Sea is a little more complicated, but still pretty simple.
Yeah. It adds I think it adds a nice element. It adds some dragons to the board that move around and can eat tiles.
And makes it bigger. So it takes a little bit longer, hypothetically. Unless third turn in, the dragon eats both of you. Because that happened to us at Gen Con.
It's over already?
What if somebody came into the store and said, I really love this TV show. Do you have that board game?
Oh my goodness. Yes, probably.
But would you recommend those games?
No, typically not.
I love Spartacus on TV. It's amazing. Should I play that game?
Well, Spartacus is one of those that I think falls outside of that conversation, because they did a fantastic job of making it a good game and not just a fan service.
Okay.
But typically, no. For some reason, there is this disconnect between good games and strongly thematic TV games. Like I have the Wicket the Ewok game. You might love Star Wars. It's not a good game though. Like there's not a lot of gameplay.
Isn't that resource even?
No, that falls in theme and humor.
That's a roll-in move. I mean, it's really. But so is Oh No You Don't. Is a roll and move. But
That's true.
I love Oh No You Don't just because it's fun.
And that's put out by Gut Busting Games, the same folks who did Trailer Park Wars and Redneck Life.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Jeez. So what if I liked, I don't know, Game of Thrones? Would you suggest the Game of Thrones board game?
The Game of Thrones board game. So I love it.
Okay.
I think it's a fantastic game. They did a great job with it. That would really depend on your level of gaming.
Okay.
If you're coming in and saying, I love Yahtzee and I love Game of Thrones, I'm going to go, no, that's not the game for you. Because clearly you are not at that level of gamer. Because Game of Thrones takes about 4 hours if you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what you're doing and you have to read through the 40-page rule book, you're going to be there all night.
So on games like that, you would suggest one person at the table that can teach.
Absolutely.
And almost all games go better with one person at the table can teach.
That's very, very true. Which I'm going to plug. That's one of the great things about coming down here on Thursdays with you guys, is you can learn games or just come down here in general, because often I or one of my staff is here and we know how to play a lot of the games down here. I won't say all of them, but a lot, and can teach.
What if I came in and said, I love Firefly?
Oh, I have such a love-hate relationship with that game. So Firefly was put out by Gale Force 9 last Gen Con. It sold out in a heartbeat. I was worried it was going to be a terrible game, because it's a TV game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a terrible game. It's just not a good game. There's not a lot of player interaction. The game takes 4+ hours, although the box completely lies, because it says it's only going to take 2.
Yeah, that box is a liar.
It's a terrible liar. I don't know what they were thinking. And it moves kind of slow. It also takes a huge table. There's like 15 decks of cards, and the discard piles are important, and there's the giant board, and then everybody has their own little individual player board. You need the biggest table you have in your house, plus some, to fit this game on there.
Yeah. We've actually run out of room at the apartment on our table, so. But it does capture the theme.
But we didn't put both of the expansions in the middle of middle of it either. You know?
Yeah.
It does capture the theme fairly well. You're certainly going to get a lot of that same flavor. So if you're a fanboy or girl of Firefly, you're likely going to have a good time, because you're really going to enjoy the theme. Because you're going to have like the original cast as part of your crew. But you're also going to find all those other little side characters that you loved as part of the decks as well.
And sometimes that you'd noticed but didn't realize you noticed, and you're like, oh, that's who that is. Because we've done that several times. I think that's why Shirley and I love Firefly so much, is because we are fanboys and girls.
Right.
But if you're not a fanboy or girl, I don't think there's enough there to really capture you. Like, the gameplay isn't so amazing that you're going to overlook the fact that you don't know any of these people.
Right.
So, any other suggestions, Shirley? Anything else you suggest, like, people do?
You said Survive's not in print.
It is in print. It's just not a lot of people have it.
Not a lot of people have it. Definitely Survive. Search for Atlantis.
Escape
from Atlantis. I can never remember anything. It's that one game with those things with the wooden stuff on it.
And Bears? You'd suggest Bears?
Bears. Why don't you just go ahead and list all those games out?
Anything else? Go ahead. No, you're fine.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
Okay. Any other games, Nicky?
Let's see. One of mine that stood out this past year, and it kind of goes back to the deck building category, is Puzzle Strike. Puzzle Strike comes in a hideous pink box, and I don't know what they were thinking. But it's a fantastic game. They did a remarkably good job. So what it is it's a deck building game, but it doesn't have cards, it has chips. And it doesn't have a deck, it has a bag. But otherwise, it's a deck building game. You're buying the stuff, you put it in your bag, you shake up the bag, and you draw out of it, just like you would shuffle a deck and draw cards. So there's certainly a strong comparison there. The goal of the game is to get 10 gems on your player's mat, on your opponent's mat. You do that by shooting gems at them. Now, shooting is a relative term. You don't physically shoot them at them, but there's chips that you can play that let you take one off your board and put it on their board. Now, they have the potential to negate that by playing a chip that meets it in the air and makes them both explode, blow up, and go to the discard piles.
Nice.
It's really cool. You can play it with 2 to 4 players. As a 2-player game, it's extremely strategic and amazing. I love it. As a 4-player game, it gets a little bit more chaotic, but if you don't mind that, it's still a remarkably amazing game. But don't let the box art throw you off, because it looks really cartoony. It's in a bright pink box. And I have so many gamers pass it up because it doesn't look like something they'd be interested in. But it's awesome.
Okay.
Check that one out.
Alex, any other games that you want to mention?
Cash and Guns.
Cash and
I
Guns.
really
like Cash and Guns.
caught my eye, and
Do we
it
need to
was
play
really
that?
fun.
Do we need to play that before we leave?
Yes.
So you're a video gamer. What kind of video games you like?
I mostly play the new GTA 5.
That's Grand Theft Auto 5 for those of us that don't know that.
And Call of Duty Ghosts. The graphics have grown so much from the past Call of Duty. Same with Grand Theft Auto, and
You get better resolution.
yeah, you get better resolution. You have so much more to do
In terms of being able to action to cars. Which game are you talking about? I know you said that you had more maps on your Call of Duty.
there are a lot of maps. There are different downloads. The noobs, Christmas noobs, have a camo with, it's like a Christmas wrap for your gun, and
So what's a noob?
a noob is like somebody that just got the game
Oh, okay.
And why are they
Gotcha.
Christmas noobs?
because they got it at Christmas.
So you're a
Like
Christmas
I
noob?
was.
Okay.
I was a Christmas noob.
Okay.
I got it at Christmas.
Got it.
Sorry, you have to talk down to us
Yeah.
adults because we don't know us old folk don't know what you're talking about.
So I guess that brings about, since we're talking about board games, what appeal does board games, if any, have for a younger crowd who's wanting to play video games? Because video games, I don't know how many calls I get a day going, do you sell the PS3 here? No, we're board games. What appeal does board games have, if any, for a young person today?
That's a good question. Me myself, I would rather play a video game than a board game unless I'm with family. I would rather play something quick and like Call of Duty. You have either 10-second respawn and you get right back into the game. If you want to wait, then a board game would be good for you because you can wait your turn and
A really quick board game
yeah.
to
So,
get back in there.
like Kings of Tokyo, they go pretty quick, right?
Yes.
That you like that?
Yeah.
And I think Cash and Guns is pretty quick.
Yeah. So it sounds like games where you're constantly involved, or
Mhm.
where there's not a big wait time between turns, is what appeals to the younger audience.
Yeah.
We need to get him to play the game that Mark had with the catapults and the dice.
Kaboom!
Kaboom!
Kaboom! You're building on these tiles these little structures out of what looks like Tinker Toys,
Mhm.
and the other players have these little flip levers, and they have dice, and they shoot their dice with the little flip levers at your castle, trying to destroy it. And it's all done simultaneously. I'm building as fast as I can while you're shooting dice as fast as you can, in hopes of knocking it all over.
I think you'd really enjoy Kaboom. We had a lot of fun with that. Well, I think that'll do us today. You should check out our Kickstarter because it's still going. We have reached our goal, but we have some stretch goals that we need to hit. We really would love to hit to get a second table, to print some more swag, and there's going to be on the 3rd of March, which may have already passed if you're listening to this late. Hello, future people. In the 3rd of March, we may be revealing a secret stretch goal that will come before all other stretch goals that have ever stretched before. So you should check that out. You should check out Indie PopCon. Indie PopCon's coming up in Indianapolis, and you can use our promo code. It's MQUI, and that will help us out a little bit and get us some stuff for Indie PopCon, and we would love that. You can always check out Nicky's blog, one gamer's opinion, and that is what's the web address for that?
If you go to GameParadiseStore.com, you'll see it linked at the top.
Okay, and then you can also check out Nicky's Facebook page at Game Paradise.
Yeah, it's Facebook.com/GameParadise.
And there's also a group called Gamers in Paradise.
Yes, there's a group page called Gamers in Paradise, which you'll just have to search for. There's no nice URL for it.
You can find it also by going to our Facebook page. See how I tied that all in, and follow from there because we're friends. We like that too. And what did I miss? Oh, follow us on Twitter at Nerds Domain. Shirley's at SNED70. I'm at Quiet. You have one.
Yep, we're at Game Paradise.
And there you go. And I think that will do us for tonight.